I actually wanted to steer the conversation in that direction. It's a serious thing when you're a young person just trying to find yourself, to determine what standards are acceptable for you to belong, and what it is how you're seeing yourself. Body image is extremely important. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, the likelihood of making many mistakes or even having issues where today, in my days, they didn't used to talk about depression, but now depression is a word out there that will make you step back and isolate yourself from community and friends is major. Young people need to be able to come to terms with self. I'll give a short, when I was in secondary school, I went to a school where our school uniform was top and knicker. So to be able to work and do everything. So our school uniform was knicker, except on Sundays where we had day dresses, because we could be sent to the farm at any point in time. You needed to be able to bend down. And a senior in my dorm would always say, oh, she likes my straight legs. I had straight legs. I did not believe that straight legs were the thing to have. I believed that people who really looked nice had bow legs, and I desired to have a bow leg. So I felt so bad because somebody was saying I had straight legs. How I wish I wanted straight legs, because now I have knock knees. With arthritis, it's bent. And it affected me so much that Mayflower would have the school uniform ready for you. I copied the school uniforms brand and would make knickers to go beyond my knee so that I could cover my straight legs. Straight legs in my head was not a sign of beauty. And that's what happens with many young people. If you're not clear about what I am big. I also grew up with a lot of shaming for my size. I've always been big, bigger than my peers, even when I wasn't so weighty. And it would be said that you can't do this or you can't belong to this crowd because you don't fit the norm. There are ways that this would affect you. So for me, in working with young people, the place to start with self-esteem is to be comfortable in your own skin. Nobody has a perfect body. That's the truth. We're all created differently. And it's harder for people who have obvious either physical or intellectual limitations to cope. And definitely, for any young person, it's important to own your body, come to terms with how you look in order to be able to stand up for yourself at the end of the day when you get into these conversations about whether you're beautiful enough, you can belong in this group or you can't. It's an important measure of sexual well-being, bottom line.
Thank you very much, Ma. So to the audience, you can start putting your questions together. You get an opportunity to ask, any question you want to around sexual and reproductive health and rights, any kind of question. I know back in the days, we used to do what we call the anonymous question box that we've also taken, to our work at One Life Initiative. So if you don't feel comfortable also asking your question, grabbing the mic, feel free to actually get a piece of paper, write your question, and then you can get it across. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right, thank you. So to the next question, clearly, the economy is a big part of the conversation. There's a lot of conversations out there also about hookup, transactional, relationship. What do I bring to the table? What do you bring as well? What do I get in exchange? And this really and truly affects, the ability to say no sometimes, because you say, if I say no, would my table also say no to me at home? Will my pocket also say no to me at home? So how do you get young people to set the boundaries? I know some of the work that AHI has also done over the years. You've been able to marry vocational skills, economic, livelihood skills together with sexual and reproductive health and rights, especially for young girls. I would like if you could speak to these and also share specific examples and stories with us as well.
we would usually speak in the field of sexual and reproductive health about the importance of sexual agency. That's the capacity to be, ability to be able to stand up for your feelings, what you want, what you don't want, and asking for what you want, because that's the other part of it. But truth be told, if you don't have a feeling or you don't have a right, and this is the difference between sexual autonomy and sexual agency. Autonomy has to exist for you to be a person with power or agency. So to take it to the young girl, if you're under, let me say, a family setting or a space of livelihood, your family background is one that you do not have economic resources. And at the end of the day, your continuing livelihood, your table, is dependent on what it is you're able to bring back with what you have. Because that's the conversation that we usually do not have. It's a difficult thing. So how do people negotiate that space? You yourself need to be able to figure out what kind of relationships you find yourself in or you get into in such a way that you're not selling. I know people say you use what you have to get what you want. If you've got such a beautiful body, better go and be a model and make money in a way that's not going to compromise your sexual and reproductive health outcomes at the end of the day. So that's a way to use what you have to get what you want without getting diseases or getting into a space where you have to go and terminate a pregnancy you don't want because you agreed to do something that you should not be doing. But this is extremely important for young people to get to know and figure out for themselves.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. My other question will be with respect to the work that AHI also does around the Youth Skill Development Program. I know that I was there 2001. We're paid 6,000 naira monthly. That's a lot of money, guys. It's far bigger than what the NYS is paying now. We're paid 6,000 naira monthly, and then the organization would save 1,000 naira. And then, afterwards, you're expected to get admitted into the university before you actually go on. I know the program is still running, and there are quite a number of young people here who also run organizations or who plan to, run some form of project activities in the community. I would like you to speak to that model, for the understanding of the audience as well.
Okay, so you've given me this as a marketing opportunity for Action Health Incorporated. So this we call it the Youth Skills Development Program, is something that Action Health has run since 1993. So that's like 32 years now that the program has been on. And it's an opportunity given to young people who are just school leavers. You must have the prerequisite of being able to move on to a higher institution. We didn't used to have that at the beginning, but we learned over time that it was important. We see it as the gap here between secondary school and university or tertiary education, if you would go. So young people come into the organization, they're recruited. The application is already out online now for people who want to join. Starts in January, ends in December. It's an opportunity given to young people who leave secondary school to come and learn about the world of work, working with adults. So every year at the AHI Youth Center in Lagos, 6 young people are engaged on terms like professional adult staff. So I think 3 different people have asked to carry my bag today. You don't carry bags for us at AHI. It's a standard. You are not my slave as a young person. You're a co-professional like me because you're bringing something to the table. Every person who works in Action Health is teaching me about the life of young people today. So I have to respect that. You don't carry my bag. Now I tell people, because now I'm older, they have to carry it. I'm saying, no, I need it for balance, to stand straight. You don't need to carry my bag. But it's giving the power to young people. They still get an allowance. The whole idea, yours was 6,000. Yes, ma'am. Today, it's 60,000. And you have to save 20,000 out of that money. because the goal is that you're going to go on to university. I would love to make it minimum wage because we have always worked with the platform of minimum wage, but it's not a program that's been funded for more than a decade. It used to be funded for us at a point by MacArthur Foundation. As their programming changed to other things like governance and, we didn't have that Ford Foundation. So out of whatever resources that AHI has, we're committed to engaging 6 young people on 60,000 for 1 year. You come, you work, you learn how adults, you learn punctuality, you learn IT skills, you learn all of those. You learn to use your voice. Go out to school every day. You work in different departments. And the whole idea, and I'll give you a story of a young man. Right now, we had 6 young people. One of them gained admission into university, so he had to leave to the University of Lagos midterm. 4 others are in the end. I don't know how admission to school works these days because the university calendar is upside down. So one of them, I had to start encouraging because by December, I know the 4 out of the remaining 5 would have gone. He's there, and because of economics, he's not striving to go into university. So we had to have a conversation. Yaba Tech is down the road. Why don't you consider going to school and working? And by the time he went to Yaba Tech 2 weeks ago and found out the cost of schooling, he already has saved half of what he needs to go on into university. And this is what we all need to be promoting as older professionals. And now I'm speaking to people above 24 because I imagine that there are many young people here who are already starting up their own organizations. I was 26 when Action Health started up. So we need to be providing opportunities for young people to be able to work, earn an income, to be able to help themselves make the next move. I'm very excited to always say that young people who go through this program save themselves the harrow of their parents saying they don't have money. They've learned how to manage studying for JAMB exam, working because you always have to write reports. You can tell them the story of what you told me about how I sent you back with Shinkini, full stop. You have to learn those things and still be able to make an income to help yourself at the end of the day.
Please, a round of applause for her again. A round of applause for her. Thank you so much for sharing those realities. I make bold to say that my only very formal work experience was actually at Action Health Incorporated. Every other thing I've done afterwards was either, I was the one designing everything, or it was just for a few months, a consultant. So that's the only place, I really learned, work ethics. So if you're in Lagos, you want to take advantage really of this because, like you said, you are treated like an adult. You would never see. I remember the first time I tried, picking up Dr. Asiet's bag, right? He nearly head-booted me, right? To say that, no, you don't do that around here. He was trying to open the door. I said, no, what you can do is to open the door for me, not try to pick up, my bag. And that's, what we have in the space. The fact that young people understand what it is. You go through the various departments. I was asked to go type a letter, and I was just, that was my first attempt at using Microsoft Word then. And I typed this letter, printed it out, and brought it to her in her office, and there was a full stop missing somewhere, and she asked me to go fix the letter all over. And in my mind, I was like, it's just a full stop, for crying out. It's just, you can let that go, right? But she had to ask me. It was later on that I learned that you just needed to go back on the computer and just add the full stop. And I thought that you would need to print, type and print all over again. Thank you so much, Ma, for sharing that story. If you have questions in the room, can I see hands? You have questions? Can I see hands? Okay, so while you try to, okay, I can see one hand. Any other person? Please, can you give him the microphone? Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Enoch Dauda. Thank you very much, Ma, for sharing the work you have been doing. And I'm happy that there is a whole lot of conversations about people having the right to say no on the digital space, this platform that has been provided. But there is also a whole lot chunk of people who do not have access to events like this, or even have access to the media. While I was in medical school, I headed the awareness team for the Standing Committee on Sexual and Reproductive Health Rights, including HIV and AIDS. And during one of our conversations, we're just mentioning words such as the body parts, such as sex, vagina, penis. And after the whole event, I just went on the WhatsApp status and people just started tagging me, bad boy, simply because we're mentioning just parts of the body. That was how it was seen as a taboo to discuss such issues. So people don't even discuss it to even know that they even have rights to even say no, that when even those rights are abused, what platforms they can access to seek for legal redresses. So what can we do for those people that do not have access to platforms like this, that are not on the digital space, and there are a whole lot, majority of them out there, and they actually need help? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You want to take on that, man?
Well, I think this is something very important. When you're in the digital space, it's not taboo to say sex and all of those things. The things I see there these days, at times I cringe myself. But you're very correct, doctor, that everybody, every young person needs to have the opportunity to learn about their bodies, how their bodies work, how their bodies can be used, and the implications of right or wrong choices. And that was really where Action Health started 36 years ago. Action Health started out of the lack of information out there for young people. I could see in my own world experience as a young graduate out of university, seeing girls being kicked out of school because they got pregnant, knowing very well that nobody has even taught them the first thing about puberty in a way that they can relate with. I imagine that they will be doing biology or general science or whatever it is in school. But you know what those classes are? It's giggling class or cover-up class, depending on the kind of teacher who comes at the end of the day. This is the importance of creating opportunities for sexuality education for young people. And this is what many organizations are doing today. Roll back in my own days, 36 years ago when Action Health was started, a girl will be brought in public to the school assembly, ridiculed, sent out of school, when the school had no support mechanisms for her to deal with puberty. If you even try and explore a little bit more, the person who impregnated her could be one of the teachers in the school. And that still happens today. So you're speaking to the importance of openness about education. The digital space is doing much more work than any one organization can hope to be able to accomplish physically. I'll use this opportunity to promote something that I'm interested and engaged with. It's called Soft Life Niger. Go ahead, man. My consultant is sitting next to me. You go online, www.softlifejat, is it 247 is there? Soft Life 247. The name was gotten from, a survey amongst young people saying, what would be a good name to give to a platform that's speaking to people about their sexual health, sexual rights, how to navigate, how to find help, which is something that's really still missing. There's a lot of information online, porno sites, you can get every kind of information, but information that's actually factually accurate, takes in the kinds of things that give you good health, sexual health outcomes. This is just one of the many, many platforms that are out there in the digital space. But it doesn't take away anything from what we need to be doing, not just in schools, from home. I like to say, and this is the word in sexuality education, the home and parents are the first sexuality educators of their children. And you're not in my own space. My own father used to say, shut up and sit down when I wanted to look at Fela Anikulapo on TV in my own days. Everybody has their TV in their hands. If I say, who doesn't have a phone, let's stand up. Maybe the young people in school uniform probably won't have a phone, but every other person has the world in their hands. But our parents and home are the first sexuality educators. How comfortable are parents with speaking out about those issues that we're talking about with their children. Anybody here my age is still get to 24 before you get married, my personal thing. But I know that many people are exceeding 24. So anybody in this room, as far as I'm concerned, that's 24, is a parent almost in the making. How open will you be about providing this education for your own children? Because if you're not comfortable, children learn the discomfort you have. They don't get comfortable with it, and it's harder for them to navigate when they get out up in the space where they have to deal with these challenges. So maybe that may be a long run to your question, but it's not just the digital space. Each and every one of us, even if you're not a parent, a responsible adult who is a model, anyone who is in this space, I consider very privileged. You're a model to all the young people who are around you in terms of what's acceptable, what's a way to treat other people. Are you empathetic enough? Are you considerate of other people's views as you're carrying on your life? You know, life is not just about you. It's give and take. And how are you doing that?
All right, thank you very much. The website again is www.softlife247.com, just in case you're very curious and you want to grab so much, from there. Softlife247.com. I see 2 other hands in the room behind you. 3 now, 4, okay.
Good morning once again, everyone. Thank you very much for this insightful discussion. During my service here, we had this core member who was suffering from, permit me to use the word, mental illness, and along the line, she got pregnant. Seeing that she has this condition, she was even unable to identify who did this. Talk more of anybody holding the person accountable. I want to ask if there is a structure in place to help protect persons living with mental illness from sexual abuse and the likes of it. Because I'm very sure there might be people who might actually get infections and things like that, and owing to their condition might find it difficult to get the necessary help they need.
All right, thank you. The next person.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the insightful conversation. My name is Echefu Samson Chidozie, and my question has to relate with my experience on the field. Just like the doctor just mentioned, I believe he has experience from the medical field. For us in the agricultural sector, where we go into rural areas, even within this Abuja, this FCT, to look up and to teach, I find out that most women face abuse as a result of lack of leadership mentality. So this leadership mentality is yet imbibed, even though most of these organizations, most of the government agencies are pushing for more women, inclusion and everything. Most of them are trained and continue with whatever they are doing because they do not have this leadership mentality. And then as regards to what you mentioned, ma'am, on the area of polyamory, I happen to have a friend, a lady, who said no to that kind of practice. Somebody she thinks that maybe can end up to be a husband, but she found out that this person is practicing this thing with several persons. So, and she was bold enough to say no, even though it's going to affect her economic pursuits, having been with that person. So what leadership mentality it's been, young ladies or women imbibe in their daily life to see that they are able to see when necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next person, and I would like a secondary school student or 2 to also ask questions. Awesome, I see your hand there. I recognize you. I have one more hand around here before we go to her. Right in front of you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. Good morning, sorry. My name is Safura, and the question I'd like to ask is regards to contraceptives and abortion. I just want to hear your view on whether it is something that should be recommended, contraceptives and abortion, because there's a whole debate on the topic.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes? There's a lady and a guy somewhere there. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Calvin. My question is this. In all of this discussion, I want to know, because in health and sexual reproduction, I've never heard you mentioning what is the role of culture in all of this? Because when you go to some places, you hear that women are not permitted to mingle with men. So how do we address that? Thank you, ma.
All right, thank you very much. The lady two ladies next to him.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Awasiponke Bob. You made mention of body image, accepting your body image. And it's actually easier said than done. Imagine a secondary school student in a school, severely bullied, there is no counselor in the school. In situations like that, and let's say the person is not privileged to get to hear all of this, what do we have in place? You are bullied, there's no counselor, no one to talk to. What do we do in situations like that?
All right, thank you, Abasi. Yes?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this session, Ma. It's been quite insightful. My name is Simbiat, and I represent Shades of Us. When conversations about sexuality comes up, the spotlight is always on female. We are the one that is being told how to dress, how to behave, how to be in the society. But when it comes to the boys, they seem to be left out of the conversation entirely. Nobody monitors their sex or their health with the same intensity. In fact, sexuality for the men even becomes like a badge of honor. So the question is, how do we start having more inclusive conversations around consent and sexuality, the one that holds the men accountable to, not just girls? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the last question for her.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Umo Favor Samuel from Government Secondary School, Gariki. Okay. My question is, in a situation, you met a guy on social media. You have not seen this guy before. The only thing you guys do is to talk to him. Then on one fateful day, the guy asked you out. So when the guy asked you out, for you, you said no, that you're not comfortable with it. You don't have any feelings for the guy. Then the guy keep on disturbing you and keep on asking you out for complete 1 year. For complete 1 year. For complete 1 year. Then finally, on a fateful day, you accepted the guy, but you don't really have feelings for this guy. So my question is this still right after accepting the guy? You accepting the guy, is it right?
Please, can we give her a round of applause that will last her for a year? Please give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. Maybe you want to start from there. Let's shoot.
You know that's where I'm going to start. Thank you so very much for speaking up. I think this is a pressure that many young people at that age are consistently facing. You don't have to go out with this person if you don't have feelings for them. Anybody can ask you anything, but you have a right to say what?
No.
You have a right to say no. But you know, as young girls, I've been through this before, you also want to find out. You're curious. I was a very curious young girl, so you can accept the invitation in a public place, like visit my school. We're having debates today, or Literary and Debating Society is doing something. So it's in the public view and everything. Someone you've never met before, you don't have any business going to see them by yourself. That's just a standard. You don't have any business. Is it right to say no at any point in time? In fact, this conversation has been a very long conversation. I don't know, you can be in a conversation with somebody for 1 year and they're still keeping up. If he was looking for something that we would think they're looking for, he would have moved on. Maybe there are many people on the platform that they're actually talking about. There's nothing wrong with saying no, is my straight, simple answer to that. Many more young people need to be comfortable with saying no, what you're not, and don't carry on conversations with people that you know you are truly not interested in. You know, you don't want to be the one they say, let me not use that language because it's street language, prick teasers. You are carrying on with this person like you really want to do something, that you're not doing anything, just cut it short and move on to the place where you have an interest.
Okay, so our tea is getting very cold. So what we'll do very quickly is I'll just, hint at the question so that you can do this very quickly as well. Simia was asking about the spotlight being on female all the time, that how do we have an inclusive conversation that also includes, the male folks?
You're so very right with that comment. I've said many times that it seems maybe it's politically correct, financially correct for those of us who are in this field of sexual and reproductive health. Everybody's talking about girls. The money is where the girls are. But bottom line, the men and young boys need to be in these same conversations as well. They have needs. We say that girls are the ones who are being asked out, but you know that boys are also being pressured to measure up to this masculine standard that nobody can measure up to. Truly, I don't know how it is that you can be thought of as the one who will know all the answers, who needs to behave well, who needs to do this and do that. We owe ourselves in this space to begin to speak about men and the challenges they face, young boys and the challenges they face as well. We're not going to go very far with this work if we don't recognize that it takes two to tango. You can empower the girl from now till forever, but if she has to get out and deal with these same issues in a relationship with someone from the opposite sex, that person also needs to be prepared to be able to start. So boys need help just as we're helping girls.
Yes, as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Abbas was asking about body image, the issue of the bully and the absence of a counselor in the school. What should that kind of girl do?
I don't know what the girl should do. Every school should create opportunities for young people having this kind of conversation. It's part of growing up. The difference between a child and an adolescent or an adult is really the experience of growing from not being able to reproduce to being able to reproduce. Adolescence is a period of sexual maturation. So how do we say we're raising young people when we don't talk about a key developmental task that they are going through? Sexual maturation. So every school, every learning opportunity needs to be providing these opportunities. And this is the work that I know the Federal Ministry of Education is committed to with the sexuality education, now called family life education, that's supposed to be happening in schools. But there's a great need, no doubt. Samiat.
Okay, Sofura wanted to hear your frank thoughts about contraceptives and abortion.
We live in a world of choice. Simple. Let's just make it straight up like that. My opinion is my personal opinion. And it's truly an opinion for any young person who wants to be empowered. If you want to be sexually active, think about the outcomes of sexual activity. Protect yourself. 15, 16, I'm a Christian, I have moral values, but I also have the responsibility as a social development worker to say to every young person who is contemplating sexual activity to find protection so that they don't have to deal with the outcomes of getting to, because when you say abortion, it's termination of a pregnancy that you don't want, so that you don't have to deal with that, deal with contraception. You can't sit on the fence, not deal with contraception, and then say that there should be no abortion. And if you say abortion, there are legal issues around it in Nigeria, but please, anyone who needs to terminate an unwanted pregnancy needs to find help in a way that they don't end up with more negative health outcomes.
Okay, thank you very much. And then there's a question about a core member who had mental ailments and then was sexually abused. How can issues like this be addressed?
It's the responsibility of everyone in any space that they find themselves. I'm not going to give caveats like I'm not a Nigerian. Even as I say every school, I know that every school does not have a counselor. That's where we need to get to. Every community needs to have people who are able to respond to people who are facing challenges of this kind. This is what the social welfare ministry is supposed to be dealing with, women affairs and all of that. States across Nigeria now have the domestic, what do they call it? The DSVA. What's that? Domestic
And sexual violence agency.
in reacting to violence, the VAP Act. which is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act.
Two last questions. The issue of the role of culture for women in this, and then the issue about leadership as well for women who really need to understand issues around SGBV.
Culture. This culture, is it our culture to be on the internet? It has become our culture. So culture is it's pervasive, it's changing, it's what is in this space. We choose, and I like to say that all the time, we pick and choose what we would call culture and what we will not ascribe to culture. Yes, in some places you can be outspoken, and I can tell many stories. This is not the place for it. Culture can hinder, but we all have a responsibility to make culturally appropriate. Now, anything that diminishes the self-esteem, the self-dignity of any man or woman in such a way that they are not being able to accomplish their best selves. And when we're talking about the word that the second doctor used was, what leadership?
Sexual. You mentioned polyandry as well.
I'm lost within it.
Okay.
The right question, ask the question the way you wrote it.
He spoke about the agricultural sector that he works in and the fact that he sees that several women face abuse because of the lack of, leadership. But I'm guessing that maybe this is also around, the fact that the information does not permeate to that level that they are basically in.
Formal Western education is very important, but may I shock you to say that even women who don't go to school, I'm not cutting back the importance of education. Even women who don't go to school are culturally aware. I come from Yoruba land. I come from a place of women being able to take choices by themselves, knowing that you can't be constrained just because you're a woman. I've been learning about it in, maybe this is not the platform to talk, I've been learning about it in working more in other cultures. But it's not difficult for a Yoruba woman to step out of a relationship to say, it's not furthering my end anymore. I'm the one paying for the food, paying for the children going to school, and this person comes home at the end of the day trying to take advantage of me when there's nothing I'm taking out of him. Forget it. I'm not in this relationship anymore. It doesn't have to come with formal education. Formal education enables us, empowers us, but we all need to be stepping up for one another in our communities. A culture is not serving my greater good. It's part of my awareness to be able to step out of that culture and take on a culture that calls for accountability. We want to be in a relationship. Will you take responsibility for being in a poly relationship and bringing trouble back to me? I truly want to be with you. I won't be with you if it was me. I truly want to be with you. You use protection before you come my way. You don't come home and you vent your anger on me. I'm out of here. This is the kind of conversation we should all be having. And boys as well as girls should learn to be able to have that conversation. You don't have to put your life on the line for acceptance within community.
Thank you very much. This is how far we can go. Please, a round of applause, for Antinike. Thank you so much for making this conversation a good one. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Esiet and Mr. Fagorushi. Please, can we take a photograph of them before they exit the stage? If this is the first intellectual session for the day, then it says that we're in for a very good day. I think my favorite part at the beginning of the conversation was when Ms. Esiet was talking about young people getting experience inside an organization even before they go to the university. Today I saw a tweet that astounded me where someone was advising would-be founders to not go work in corporate organizations, that there's nothing to learn. Just get out of school, graduate, and start your business or start whatever you're trying to do. And I thought that was very terrible advice. I'm very glad to know that organizations like this exist and programs like this exist as well, because the amount of things you learn in spaces like that, invaluable. All right, so we'll move very quickly to our next session, and it's our first pop-up session for the day, so pop-up session number 1. I said at the beginning that this wasn't a democracy, and then if you're not working, I'm the only one who should be standing, right? So Rotimi will sit down now, and every other person will sit down now. Thank you. Right, so the first pop-up session for the day is Young People and Migration in Africa, Possibilities and Obstacles. It's a virtual session, and it will be delivered by Omotokpe Fatoki, otherwise known as Alarika. Is it ready? It's also interesting that we have this particular conversation because over the past few days, I've been seeing content around Jakpada on Twitter and Instagram. So, all right, I think we're ready. Over to you, digital team.
Hello, I can hear if live. Am I? I think there's a lag somewhere, but I'm not sure if it's from my end or from your end. Okay, I can see myself on the screen. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hello.
I'm not sure if I'm audible and if I'm loud and clear. So I'll get to get feedback to know that we are communicating.
I don't think she can. Yes, you're audible.
Oh, okay. There's a lag over here, but I just hope that the bounce back over there is good. So I'm just going to continue and hopefully that we are communicating. Okay. Hi, everyone. Well done. I've been in the session myself, and I want to say a big thank you to the last panelist. It's such an interesting session, and I enjoyed it myself, and especially the question around, women being the center of attention when it comes to sexuality. And I just want to say a big thank you to her, and I hope that we all learned something. On this session, we're going to be talking about travel, migration, JAPA, and every other thing around this. So I'm going to ask a question, and I would like maybe 2 or 3 people to respond to me. If you have plan of leaving Nigeria at any point to JAPA, to European country, or any other country, whether to further your education or for greener pasture, please raise your hand up so we can have this conversation well. Anyone? Maybe 2 or 3 just tell me, where are you planning to go, Seth? Just tell me where you're planning to go. Let's bounce it off from there.
They say Canada. UK, India, Dubai.
I can't hear the background at all.
Oh, okay, if you can hear me. Okay, notice.
Okay.
If you can hear me, they said Canada, India, Dubai, UK, Greece. I heard Switzerland as well. China. I think we can go back to you now.
I don't know how this works. Congo, Brazzaville, DRC, Namibia, Angola, all of these countries. And I've also traveled across West Africa by road, which is Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, almost all the countries in West Africa. And I'm also the first female in Nigeria to backpack across 36 states in Nigeria by road. I think I deserve a round of applause for that. It wasn't easy, but it is one of the most beautiful journeys that I have backpacked across. And I'll give a rundown to how I began to travel, how I got into the tourism space. Currently, I'm speaking to you not from Nigeria, but from Rwanda. The Republic of Rwanda is a country in Eastern Africa. I migrated here from Namibia. And one of the reasons why I am here is to make sure that I can document and advocate for intra-African migration, where Africans can migrate within Africa, where Africans can develop Africa with resources, with tech, with everything that we have been taught to develop our own continent. And I want to give more youth, more people, the opportunities to see that there is more that you can achieve also within the African continent. I graduated university around 2015, and I will tell you that during that period of time, there was not much job for me in the marketplace. And I did everything. I think there are youth here or people here who started their career by being an online market seller at first. I sold clothes. I moved from being a musical artist, just trying to throw in everything at the wall and see what sticks. I studied banking and finance, and at the time, the banking sector too was quite saturated. So in 2018, 3 years after, fresh outside of uni, I decided to start a career in tourism. And it was when they talk about dare, because it's a dare conference, I would say I dared the stereotype, I dared the road, I dared the system, I dared to be outside, I dared to want to make it, I dared to change my own story. And at the time, from the kind of background I came from, I know that I cannot afford to go to Canada. In short, even at this point, I don't think, maybe I can go to Canada now for tourism and be back to my continent, which is Africa. But at the time, I do not have the money, neither the resources to jackpot out of Nigeria. And I had friends at the time, most of my friends now are out of the country, for greener pasture, to advance their education. And like I said, migration is a consistent movement. It has been before me, it will continue after me. And during my period and started traveling within Africa, I realized that there are so many African countries that are beautiful, that are industrious, and with opportunity for Africans to tap in. And it's so beautiful because when we don't have this data, when we don't have this information, people believe that the best place to be or the best place to find the solution to whatever it is, it's in the European continent. It's outside of Africa. And during my trip from Nigeria to Namibia, I began to start documenting Nigerians who are successfully making it outside of Nigeria in other African countries. And name it, dream of any country in this African continent, on this continent that you feel like Nigerians won't be. Nigerians are in every nooks and cranny within the African continent. Anywhere you can think of, there's a word that says that if you go to a place and you don't meet Nigeria there, you should run away, because definitely something is not stable in that country. Whether it's an unstable economy, you find Nigeria there. Whether it is in a new environment, you find Nigeria there. And Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the largest, second largest country in Africa. And it is one of the rarest places you would think you will find Nigerians. And on getting there, Nigerians were everywhere. There's a Nigerian Yoruba community, there's the Igbo community, there's the Hausa community. And I'm like wondering, what are we doing here? I mean, I've read Nigeria on other journey, but what are we doing in Democratic Republic of Congo? And doing this interview, I realized that Nigerians are making a lot of money outside of the African continent. And because of the stereotype that comes with, Africa as a whole continent, it makes information scarce for people. And even with that, we still have issues of illegal migration going on within Africa. Illegal migration, illegal trafficking, going on and on, same within the African continent. And my mission and vision, and more that more Am I audible? Can you hear me? 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 Okay, I think it's back now. Okay. So yes, so my mission is to make sure that I share more information to help more youth out there to realize that there are other African countries that you can migrate to, get opportunities, whether for education or job opportunities, and make sure that you have the guideline, everything that you need to start. Going to Canada, India, any other countries that you have in mind, my job is to make sure that I can convince you enough to see Africa as a place that you can migrate within, that you can build your potential and build your capacity and build this continent at large. Like I said, I was documenting people in DRC. They are doing really good. And even what it will cost you to migrate within African countries, whether for education or employment or for, good life, is not up to what it will cost you to get, lend loan and migrate to, any other countries. And I just hope that, I share more light in that part. Like I said, I've traveled to 23 African countries, and I did them all by road. And I will tell you, it's not as easy sometimes. My social media sometimes be like, why are you suffering yourself? But I started with nothing, and let's not say that I do not like flying, but because I do not have the money to start traveling by air, I had to start with what I have and where I am. I don't know if anybody knows some of the popular places in Lagos. That is where I came from, in somewhere around Agbogule Ridimu, and it's around the Alimosho local government area. And when I started, I do not have the resources. In short, my first trip outside of my father's house was to Ogun State, Abeokuta, and I did Western Nigeria at the time with like maybe 5,000 naira in 2018. Staying with locals, making some dropping buses, and it became my strength, to be honest, because I don't think at this point in time, as I speak to you, there is anyone in the African space that travel and documents it the way I did. One of my disadvantage turned to my biggest, privilege, able to backpack Africa and Nigeria the way that I did it. And another thing I would say is using your resources and starting where you are. It's a privilege. It's a good advice. I wouldn't say that, oh, you should not hear that advice because you have more things that you need to. But starting where you are with the resources that you found are not starting at all. I started in a career that at the time was not even still tapped into the Nigerian space or in the African space to see African women, traveling, doing all. They'll be like, oh, you're a woman. Why are you doing this? It's not safe. It's not good. This can happen and that can happen. But the fear of what can happen would limit a lot of people to not even do and see what can actually happen, whether it is for good, for greatness. There's a lot of things and a lot of opportunities out there that I want people to tap in. In terms of migration, I'm currently studying different migration systems within the African continent. And that is what brought me to Rwanda. And I could tell you that if you're planning, Rwanda, Kenya, have some of the best schools, some best opportunities, even right there in Nigeria, to give you a landing and starting point into your career. And tech is growing in Africa. And Rwanda currently is one of the big tech hub if you've done your research. And I'm here to make sure that, learning what their migration is like, helping people do that, whilst I'm also understanding other countries. And to be honest, I've been here for almost a year and I'm not regretting it. If I have $20,000, $50,000, I'll bring it into this country and invest here and make my money back in such a lovely, peaceful environment. And the good thing about being within the continent is that you still have, you're still at peace, you're still at rest. It feels like you are in your neighbor's house or you are still with your uncle, sister in one other, because Africa is a big village and we are all welcoming, we are all, whatever you feel like it's a culture shock. In Nigeria, you realize that it's the same thing that happens here. We have similarities in a lot of ways. And that also makes me feel at home every time I'm traveling within the continent. And I just want to inspire more people and help more people, start in their travel journey, whether it's for migration or it's for employment or it's for tourism. I hope that, my story can help more people see that there is opportunities in Africa. There is a lot that you can achieve being on the continent. So without no further ado, I think my time is already up. And I hope that you learn something or you pick something. And if you have any questions to ask, I'll definitely be willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omotoke, and sincere apologies for the network situation, but thank you for braving through it and giving us an interesting session. Thank you very much. We'll move very, very quickly through. Sorry, I forgot to say, it's a pop-up session, so we'll not be doing questions or taking questions. We'll just move straight to the next activity on the agenda. So thank you once again. We'll move straight to our first panel session for the day, and it's showcasing youth-led health innovation, that is advancing health preparedness in Nigeria. To join us on stage, we have Dr. Chris Kanike, but joining us, Kaniki, who's joining us virtually. We also have Toyin Chukwudozie from EVH. I think she's present here. We have Ashifa Agede, my chairman, Olusegun Medupi, and the moderator, Adek Basi. Please, can all of you come up to the stage? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, this does look like a really colorful panel. I think they took the microphones away from there. Are they there? Okay, yeah, the microphones are there. So Shegun, who's supposed to be sat here. All right, thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Oh, please. Do you know the session that we're having now? That is going to highlight youth innovation in advancing health preparedness in public health matters. So I want to see the youth that are here who have been responding in one way or the other, making your own little effort and contributions in addressing health issues. So if you know you are that young person here, you've been doing a lot in that private corner, on social media, everywhere. Let me hear you show that you are here by making a resounding, what do youths do? Show us your energy. Youth in the house, this should not be quiet. Let's hear you, please. Does this sound like youth? Not yet. Are you like 40 years or something? All right. Anyway, welcome so much to this amazing panel session, and I count this a very good honor and privilege given to myself from Youth of Africa, being here and championing this conversation with amazing panelists who have been watching them and learning from them from when I was, younger. Because, of course, as young people, you get to grow every day, and you learn from people that you see ahead. And today on this panel, I have all of them seated here, and we'll be talking about the subject matter, showcasing youth-led innovations, advancing health preparedness in Africa. So therefore, it's beyond Nigeria. We're looking at the global context because we believe that everything that people do here also contributes to the global action and result. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being here. I will just jump into the questions. But before then, it's been an amazing DARE conference since yesterday. And one thing about me as a young person, I recognize the atmosphere of a conference as a means to get inspired, as a means to get your hope alive again, as a means to learn from people that are already ahead of you. So my prayer for me, even yesterday, I was like, I hope every young person, adolescent, given a chance to be here in this room today, and the youths in this room today, you are seeing how your future could be or even more. Because you're actually going to hear stories have been shared here, true stories, so that you can learn and see that if you've been having self-doubt before now, or you were feeling Nigeria is not the place to make this thing happen, Some people is like, Nigeria is not where I can make this happen. Or you have your excuses, I don't have the resources, I have these limitations. You've heard great stories from previous speakers on how their journey started. So my prayer is you leave this place also inspired, apply the knowledge that you gain to actually see the result that you desire. So on that note, I had to just chip that in because I don't always do that. All right. So I'm going to start from Dr. Chris because he's joining us online. I don't know if it's set now. How do I get a signal that I can engage him now? From here, right? Dr. Chris, can you hear us? Could you hear your voice so we can be sure? So we could just briefly engage him, and then we can now focus on us here. Is that okay? Thank you so much. Dr. Chris? I should continue. All right, I'm going to just move to a general question because of your level of expertise, long decades of work on pushing for youth engagement, promotion, seeing that young people are highly involved in addressing issues. And we all know the kind of role that COVID-19 played. Many people saw the effects of COVID-19, but at the same time, COVID-19 showed another level of result from young people, because I feel like it made every young person mostly go into their shell and started looking for ways they can actually do things. And we could see the result over time. Since the COVID-19 period, people have been more innovative. There have been so many from app building, interventions done here and there. People, even content creators, using their content and entertainment pattern to pass great messages that inform decisions and all. So we've been seeing the effect that young people have done, the role they've done in making the society, different population target prepared in
in the public health context in preventing, controlling, and eliminating public health issues, because every single effort they do actually counts in either reducing the issue, preventing it completely, or totally eliminating it. So my general question is, I'll start with who is very close to me, Mr. Shegud. And you're the only male here. How do you feel? This should make the other person that asked the question that the role of men in the picture. I mean, we have a man. So men, celebrate our male representative here. Thank you so much. So the question is, health preparedness is often framed around pandemic, pandemic response. How can young innovators reimagine preparedness for everyday health conversations beyond when it has happened, everybody's running helter-skelter? So how do these young people reimagine preparedness for everyday health conversations to be prepared now ahead of the pandemic time? We've heard another pandemic is coming.
If you ask me, I would say it's not a matter of another pandemic coming. Okay. Just this morning, someone was telling me that all the coughs and catarrh that children are down with now, that is another wave of whatever. I didn't cram the name of the wave of what that thing is. Yeah. And talking about health preparedness, pandemic, and all those, I would choose to approach it from a wider angle.
Okay.
And because more often than not, we look at COVID-19 when we are going to talk about what went wrong globally. But COVID-19 is was just an episode. Was just a part of our lives. And before COVID-19, there were other things. There was the Ebola, and there are still Ebola in some belts across Africa. Sure. Across Asia, there were those ones that were there. There's still Marburg. Is it Marburg? Marburg. There's something like that somewhere. There is measles. There is the one carried by rat and rabbit somewhere. Lassa fever. Yeah. There is a whole lot of things. Then their big brother that seems not wanting to go over the years. Malaria has come, and it's as if malaria has made up his mind to stay, right? And all this has been with us before, during, and after COVID-19. So I situate COVID-19 as one of the many things that are happening, and hopefully they will not continue to happen. How would they not continue to happen now is the conversation around what young people are thinking, what young people are doing. And I will also be very quick to say that we are fortunate as a continent or as a country, talking about Nigeria now, because the young people have not always been lazy over the years.
Please say that again. Emphasize that again, please.
Young people has not always been lazy over the years.
Thank you.
They've been doing so much, and they are still doing, and I know they will continue to do. After the DARE conference, you will hear so much that young people is putting into health preparedness, not only that, into technology, not only that, into fintech, for instance, and into many other things that young people are interested in. They are nation builders, and they've continued to play that role over decades, right? Before the pandemic, the one we choose to call the pandemic, but I say, which is one of the many other challenges that we've always had. There are young people who are doing incredible things. I think if you look at it from established organization, EVA used to have apps to talk about health and health priorities and health challenges.
Okay, so, sorry, I'm going to say it this way. All the things that young people did previously. Now, we want you to speak on what should they reimagine as preparedness in case something wants to come ahead. Because most of them are listening to everybody that's going to share now, and they might leave here taking notes of things that might go back and build on from the maybe ideas that they hear you share. So from all your years of experience, would there be like some tip you want to give out to say, if young people this way, it could help prepare the whole continent from being affected by whatever pandemic that is coming ahead?
Young people want a cheat
We want it,
sheet.
yes.
Okay. So, health communication is key,
Great.
right? And young people can be at the forefront of that. You own technology. Young people own technology. They been that people like Mommy said is not in the room, I would have said I'm no longer young. But now, since people like that are in the room, I will also young people. So at the end of the day, the world is basically tech, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Young people owns that particular corridor, and they can continue to exert their energy and their focus in that. Thirdly, sorry, we are joking about young people being living on the internet. Basically, that is the home where you find them. And so for them to be able to reach other young people in preparing them for the next pandemic, which we are hoping that it will never come, is to prepare we need leaders, innovators who will prepare the young people who will in turn continue to engage other young people across platform, across media platform, other big tech platform. And lastly, is also to say when we talk about innovations, when we talk about tech, they don't stay in isolation, right?
Yeah.
We have the online, we have offline, and young people has to also stay rooted within their community in terms of innovation and imagine how their work can find relevance in the community where they belong to, so that they will buy and own credibility. And when that pandemic comes, if it ever comes, you are able to speak to your own people who believe in you, and you are not coming to come and do community entry to be able to pitch your app and your innovation to them, basically.
Powerful. I feel like you've given so much. So let's hear from the next speaker, please. Just, you can add extra 2 or 3. Like, we're picking all the chips we can get right now.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Shagun, for laying that beautiful foundation. What I would add is that in reimagining preparedness, we should look at it from the everyday things, that we do as young people, the everyday communicable, non-communicable diseases that we deal with, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes. Those are huge things. It's even amongst young people now. There was a time when if you had high blood pressure, you were thinking an old person, a grandparent. If you had diabetes, you're thinking of maybe my grandmother. But these are things that we're dealing with even as young people. Yeah. So preparedness can also mean that we are aware of these changes around our health, not just our personal health, but the health of the communities that we belong to. That means that we are paying attention to research. When I say research, I'm not just talking about academic research, the one we do in school. Just asking basic questions. Has it always been like this? If it hasn't, what has changed? And what can we, do about it? Preparedness should also, and then integrating, like Mr. Shagun said, integrating the young people, their communities, the government, everyone coming together and working, and not working, in isolation or in silos. Who can I, so something has crossed my mind. This is not correct, or this should not be so. Great. Who should I have this conversation with? Building those bridges ahead of time. Preparedness should also, it's good to leverage technology, but innovation preparedness does not always have to be tech-enabled, especially at the grassroots level. I'll just leave it there.
I mean, you've dropped some very good chips as well. Thank you so much, Ashifa. Please, Madam Toyi. You could pass the mic to her. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to you both for laying the foundations. You've said a lot, actually. I think what I'm going to add to that is, for all the young people in this space, connected in any way to this space, we all experienced the last pandemic. So even the Gen Alpha, the kids who were 2 years, who are like, I don't know, 5, this was 2020, so kids who were at least 3 years old at the time, we all experienced that pandemic.
Yeah.
We remember to a large extent, or in different extents or degrees, how we experienced the pandemic. We remember what it meant for each of us, whether as a primary school child or as a secondary school child or somebody in the university or somebody who was already working. We remember how we experienced the pandemic. The question is, what did we learn from what happened? And if we're reimagining, how can we take what we learned from that experience into what, shaping something that can help us be ready in case, like Shegun is saying, if, in case something like that happens again or breaks out, what did we learn from that and how can we take that into reimagining? What are those things that we did in our individual and collective spaces to help us adapt, help us cope with what we experienced? And how can that be something that we can improve on? It's not just about when a disease outbreak is happening. It's not just about when something monumental like that happens. I think we had also learned things from that experience that helps us even deal differently in our everyday life. One example that I will give is that for me, since after the COVID pandemic, I am very conscious of touching surfaces, public surfaces everywhere. I don't hold rail handles.
It has now been a behavior now.
It's at the back of my mind every time I want to hold a rail handle. Maybe I do, but I just have a pause before I do that, right? So there are many things that that we learned from that experience that could apply to our everyday lives today, that could also save us from, disaster tomorrow. So in thinking about the innovation, we're saying, okay, so if I'm somebody now who is, squeamish or whatever about touching surfaces, is there something now that I can do, that I can think of, that helps me manage that, because I'm always going to be in the public anyways? Is there something, should I develop some very nice fitting, that fits my outfit, that fits, that can help me remain fashionable and still safe while I'm in public? Because that is just something for today, but who knows if a similar situation arises tomorrow. Then we will not have to be seeing situations where tissue is sold out, face masks are sold out, hand gloves are sold out. We were already prepared. So I think that is the one thing I want to add to this round, the lessons, how it applies to today, and how we can take that into ensuring that, a repeat of what we experienced does not come back, in that same intensity as it was in 2020. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing a lot. I feel like my young people are already excited, taking down notes for all of these tips they've gotten. So we would like to call Dr. Chris. Let's also hear your own contribution from where you are. We missed your presence here this morning. Let's hear from you. What will you say to enable young innovators prepare themselves, better for the next pandemic, if it happens? Over to you, sir, Dr. Chris.
Thank you so much for the floor. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
We can hear you, right?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Africa for organizing this wonderful gathering, and also present my sincere apology for not being in person in Abuja. I would really love to that the agenda could allow me moving from where I am and be in Abuja this morning. And so thank you for having me for this panel. Shegun wouldn't be feeling alone, because I'm also here joining virtually, and greeting to my panelists. So, and I stand on up for. Let me just go straight to the question.
Yes, sir.
Not abuse our time. What I would like to say first is that, uh, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, right?
Oh, sorry, my internet. So the question about how young innovators can reimagine preparedness for every day, I think it's a very good one, and I like what the panelists just before me just mentioned in terms of what she herself has learned from COVID-19. Let me start by saying this. I used to say this, and yesterday I was mentioning it again on another panel. When it's come to lesson learned about COVID-19, I used to challenge the audience to say, have we really learned lesson, or are we just naming things that we think we've learned? But I'm very happy listening to my co-panelists as she mentioned that she had that conscious of like just that example is very good. Like every time she tried to touch a surface, she has to have that in mind that, she needs to be protected. Because most of the time we tend to say that we've learned a lot from COVID-19. And on a personal basis, I used to say we might have not learned that much.
Absolutely.
I say that because if today the same pandemic or another pandemic hit, what will be the case? Are we really prepared to be facing that pandemic, or are we gonna be experiencing the same situation? So it's only if we say that you are gonna face it in a different way that you can assume that you have learned. But if you're going to face the same problem, the same gaps, we haven't learned anything. But I'm sure that what you're doing and that's Africa CDC and so many organizations is to push everyone out there to understand that something may also happen again, but let's just be prepared and get ready. So back to the question, what I think that young innovator can do is, let me say into four things. Let me name four things. Okay. One is moving from pandemic-centric to everyday resilience. We need to reframe the preparedness as a continuous, but also a daily health literacy and early warning system for common conditions. And another panelist mentioned that malaria, dengue, maternal health, mental health, sexual reproductive health, all those issues, we need to look at them as on a continuous early warning system for common, rather than only looking at them as a crisis response. And this includes routine symptom checking, vaccination reminder, but also access to trusted information, which is also very important because the misinformation out there is not really leading people to be prepared. We need to also make in place a system that is building the trust between the population and the health worker before the pandemic. And this is also one of the things we use here at Africa CDC. Let's build the trust now by sharing the correct information, not only when in the middle of the pandemic, where sometimes the misinformation is taking the lead. Number two is to have technology enabled, but also people-centered approaches. The use of mobile platform and, for example, SMS first tool to deliver tailored health tips, symptom triage, like also nearby services finder in a way that, as I say again on the first one, to make sure that you're providing the right information to people. And this is how we can also leverage on technology. Leveraging community health workers and youth ambassadors as trusted messengers who can adapt content to local language and cultures, and also deploy some things like I can even think of AI chatbots in local language, and this should be like 24/7 at health queries with an escalation to human report when needed. As Africa CDC, and I'm happy to say that we've been working with Youth of Africa on an initiative like the Bingwa Plus initiative, where we are trying to also support young people to support the community coming up with solutions, ideas to what can be a solution to the problem that identify in the community. And this is also part of how we are building or preparing our community when it comes to the preparedness to any eventual pandemic. Number three is community data and feedback loops. We need to create a lightweight or a privacy-respecting data collection mechanisms where we are informing local decision maker, but also, I would like to say, enabling rapid adoption of services and messaging. And in this, you can look at things like anonymized dashboard, crowd success, community health needs, just in a way that, because we need to make sure that the data are really informing our decision.
Great.
Last year, I would like just to mention two things:
given a lot.
preventing and promotive emphasis, and partnership and ecosystem. We need to make sure that we are supporting, as I mentioned, like for the Bingo Plus, youth-led initiative with local health facilities, schools, faith-based group, but also Tech Hub to normalize preparedness as a shared responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Chris. Okay, I don't know if he's still connected. I would have loved to ask him a follow-up question quickly. I don't know if I can proceed
I'm around.
with that. Can you hear us, Dr. Chris? Great. He's no longer online. Okay, so I should just continue. All right, knowing his wealth of expertise in global health, youth engagement, and participation that concerns global health, you've already spoken a whole lot and given a lot of tips. I'll call that tips to young people in the room and those watching from afar. I'd like to just ask you, sir, just very briefly, what do you think the future of health preparedness in Africa looks like for young people, for them to continue leading boldly? Apart from maybe the innovation that you have shared earlier, what will the health preparedness generally in Africa be like for young people so they can take leadership, take the lead boldly? Because when we say they are future of tomorrow, it also starts today. But what will equip them to take that boldly? We'd like to hear maybe one or two from you, sir.
So only one or two is young people.
Okay, you are Dr. Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he's there.
I think he's still there, but you can just respond to that. Dr. Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So please, we'd love to hear your response to the question.
Yes, quickly. So if young people continue or they need to lead boldly, Africa's self-preparedness will become, I think, more localized, adaptive, and networked with pilot co-design with community, but also scaled through regional hub that respect.
Powerful. Thank you so much for, I don't know if it's network, but thank you so much for what you've just shared now. It has really added a lot to the table. So I will just move to the next set of questions. And I want to believe that my young people, you are taking notes of the few part of general questions that have been shared. You've taken note of a lot of things you will innovate even after now and maybe improve on the things that you're already doing. So I would like to ask Madam Toyin Chukwuedize, because of your decade of expertise in youth programming and also serving as executive director of a very result-driven youth-led organization, EVA, that has empowered a lot. I want to just ask you this question so that you can speak on this. Most funding, especially when it has to do with funding, a lot of times young people have started their own initiatives and they have started their own programs, and maybe they start trying to, change certain approaches because they want to feed into the funders' lens, not recognizing their own context, at their location. So my question is, most funding in Africa comes from international donors. How do you maintain control over your own vision and avoid having your innovation shaped by what funders want rather than what community needs? Because you are the one in the community, you're seeing the problem, and you have your own ideas, and then they tell you this is the kind of result we want. So how have you been able to, being in the space for a very long time, control your vision and approaches?
Thank you, Adek. So I think I'll start by saying that you need to set the goals for yourself, your organization, institution, collective, whatever it is that you're doing. You need to set your own goals.
Yeah.
You need to set your vision. You need to be clear about that.
Okay.
This is first to you and your organization and your institution. There is need for you to say, this is why I am here. This is what I'm here to solve. And I can assume that for most people, what you're solving comes from what you have experienced, a gap you want to close.
Yeah.
And so if you start by rooting yourself, well, let me make it collective. If we start by rooting ourselves in the exact reason why we started to exist in the first place. What was it we started to solve for? What was that thing in my community, in my environment, for which I said, something has to change about this?
Yeah.
So we root ourselves in that vision and keep it there and keep it clear. Now, you move from your vision to now having to interact with other people who don't know that vision before now, because they have their own vision, who maybe they've heard something about what you're doing and want to contribute, right? Because at the end of the day, the funder, the donor, they want to contribute to advancing something. We have general objectives that align.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We have to bear in mind that we're headed towards the same place, right? You want to solve something, I want to solve something.
Sure.
But as long as my vision is in front of me, it gives me leverage to sit with a funder, a donor, to say, this is what I'm solving for. Yes, they might have their own agenda, they might have their own direction, but in the interest of actually intervening for progress, we can sit with them and say, this is why this is what is important to our community. This is what is important to the group that we represent.
Yeah.
And in my experience, many times they listen to you. The only time I wouldn't say only, the times when, it seems easy to sway on any side is when you don't have a clear vision for what you want to do. It's when you feel like you just want to do something, and any resource that comes your way, you will do something. You will do whatever it is anybody's asking you to do. But if I have worked in this community, or I've come out from this experience in which I can use something like gender-based violence, and I'm saying, there's so many girls in my community, they are experiencing this, they cannot report, and I want to solve for something that eases reporting. If whoever is coming to me and asking me to do something that is outside all of that, I can share that this is my vision for what I want to do. And I also acknowledge the fact that even with a vision, priorities can shift. Scope can, increase, can be tweaked.
Yeah.
But again, it's about keeping it in front of you what it is that is the vision and the goal, and communicating that, clearly with whoever wants to partner with you, whoever wants to align their resources with, the resources that you're also bringing to solve for that. In many situations, in most situations, they listen to you. The approach might be where it differs in, how we are thinking about it, because I want to do it this way, they want to do it another way, but we can always find that middle ground as long as, this is what we want to do. It doesn't cater for your community if you just jump because somebody has said jump. We should always remember why we started what we were doing, why we came to where we are to solve what it is that we're solving, why is it important to us, and who is this for at the end of the day. If we just tweak, change just because somebody else is saying it, are we achieving what it is that we want to achieve? So when it comes to thinking innovation, innovative, whatever it is we are imagining, let's not forget the vision. It's the why. What are we solving for? And communicate that clearly to whoever wants to get into partnership with us. Thank you.
Wow. Feel free to clap, please, because that was a lot that just came. And one of the take home for me from what you said is, as young people embarking on the journey to also contribute to addressing problems, you need to stay with your vision, as clear as it is. So if you've not gotten it clear, you either go back to your drawing board and get it clear, because when maybe opportunities start coming, if it's clear, you might now know how to present in a way that it can be sustained. Because I've seen many organizations, try to change even their vision statement to suit in what the funder objective is saying. Because they want to follow the money, they want to follow the fund, they want to remain in the space. But if you now go down their track record, you don't happen to see consistency in who they are, or who they are even targeting, or what they are even really doing. Because today they are doing this, tomorrow they are doing that. It's just so a lot at the same time. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I feel like all people here will actually run with this level of clarity. Thank you so much. So I'll just go to Ashifa Agede. Yeah, so I'm coming to you with this question because you're my public health professional colleague and your wide exposure in the public health programming space, when it comes to public health leadership. So how can young innovators scale their innovations without losing What makes it contextually relevant? What are the barriers to scale?
Okay. Thank you very much. As young people, as young innovators in the area of health,
Yeah.
I'll just take from what Toyin said. Most of the time, when we look at our innovations or the problems that we are solving and how we are solving them, it's we all have different paths.
Exactly.
There are times when you have opportunity to solve that problem at scale. There are times when the option you have is to start small. You know, whatever phase, whichever path you are on, just start. For example, what problem are you solving for? If, for example, you are solving for maybe a knowledge and skills gap among young people, you know, who are enthusiastic, you know, around maybe solving public health problems in Nigeria, for example, you may not have that big support, that big international donor fund. Start small. You could start with solving that problem, you know, for 5 people, for 1 people. Start there, and then what are you learning? What have you learned? It's important that while we are doing the work that we are doing, we are learning, we are documenting, and we are generating evidence. You know, we are getting proof for our work, for our strategies, for why we are doing what we are doing, where we are doing it, and why it works. For example, you know, at our organization, we have the Public Health Stewards Program.
Okay.
Where we solve for, you know, the knowledge and skills gap. Young people finish school full of enthusiasm to solve public health problems or to get into the space. But then there's, you know how it's an entry-level job and they are looking for 1 to 2 years experience. Who knows that?
A lot.
You know, and you are just coming from school. You really want to do this thing, but you don't have that experience yet. So this program solves for that through an orientation and then immersion for these young people. We started in 2021, and when we started, we had 3 participants. 3. We called for the program, 7 people applied and 3 participated. And it has grown, you know, over time. And one of the biggest challenges has been, because after an orientation, they are matched to public health partners where they learn or where they participate in an internship for 3 months.
Mirror learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where they gain the hands-on experience. One of the biggest challenges has been getting organizations that are willing to take them on for those 3 months. So you have people who wait for years, and then sometimes it's flexible. Sometimes somebody was doing NYSC or had to travel or something came up, so they decide to wait. So matching stewards with organizations, you know, that are mutually benefiting, because he has to also fit what that steward wants. I'm sharing this just to get back to that question around how do you scale?
Yeah, and also for them not to change the context.
Yes, for them not to change the context. If we had, looking back, if we had started really big at that time, we would have run into a crisis of getting, because on your own part, you can do orientation, you can do all the other things, but there are some things that are not within your control. In addressing problems, there are things that are within your control, and there are those that are not within your control. So sometimes when you start small, you learn, and then you adapt, and then you make changes or tweaks here and there as you grow, so that as your innovation grows or expands, you don't run into trouble. You don't run into trouble. Now we have learned how we are communicating with our partners better. We are, listening to the stewards better. We had an evaluation recently, and the stewards or the participants, the stewards, the immersion partners, the subject matter experts got to tell us what they really want or what they think about this problem. So imagine that we are not having all these processes, in the midst of all these things. We will just face one direction that is taking us nowhere, and we are happy with ourselves, and we are not solving real problems on the ground. And it's always important to always ask yourself, no matter the stage you are at, what problem am I solving for? And who am I doing it? And is this still relevant for the people or the populations that I'm solving this problem for? Whatever feedback you get it's important to work at it and course correct or continue on that course as the case may be.
Wow, thank you so much for even sharing an aspect of, your own experience and story, because it has clearly shown that for anything you're trying to address, also look within your own context area and do things that are applicable to the issue that you saw. Because imagine you were trying to now adopt maybe a global practice in running that same program in Nigeria for those 3 persons. Maybe you would have gotten the kind of result that you've gotten now. So thank you so much for really sharing that. All right, Mr. Shegun, I'm coming to you because of your groundbreaking effort and long-term, approaches, community-wise, the back-end policy-wise and everything. So I want to just, I would like you to speak on African most vulnerable populations are often missed by mainstream health system. African population are missed by mainstream health system. How can youth-led innovations be specifically designed to reach this? Because in as much as things are everywhere, I feel like people being specific is also very key in programming. So how will youth-led innovations be specifically designed to reach this vulnerable population mainstreaming the health system? I don't know if my question is clear. Shall I?
Okay. Yes, it's okay.
You say you're no longer a youth. You have like back decades. So take us back on the whole journey.
So, to be sure I got the question right,
Okay.
The African the biggest population we have, the young people.
Yeah.
And how can we ensure that they are being carried along where we are maybe developing an innovation to cater for health
For the specific,
priorities. The challenges are what they are. They are there, which, of course, let's take it to a context like where we are now, where most of the populations are either in the urban slum or they are in the hinterland, the places we call adjoining town, very far away and all that. If the young man sitting or the young woman sitting in front of me has to put an innovation together, how to get some young people from these communities, let's label them marginalized community. That is the name we always hear. And we have to bring about 20 of them to come join us in this room to think through what the issue is and how we prefer solution to some of those issues. It will not come cheap for a young person. If we also have to carry our table and locker and go back to Paikokore, that is a community at the back of Gwagwalada, and we have to go and sit down with the young people under the tree there, that also comes with a substantial cost to it.
Yeah.
It therefore means if we will want young people to continue to put together solutions that will be inclusive, or even the not so young people also want their own solution to be inclusive, we must have a way of reducing the cost effect on them to be able to ensure that they have a little bit of leverage.
Yeah.
And one example that readily come to mind is what the NYFF has been doing. And there's the hackathon corner somewhere at the back, which I will sit closely there throughout the day to hear the idea that young people has, you understand. So for a young person or for not so young person, and you have something in the oven, you have something you're cooking to solve a health or even non-health challenge. When you have such leverage, is a beautiful thing. And it's also very important that you make it a creed, you make it a priority, that you don't shave people's head behind them. And so don't develop an innovation to attend to my challenges when you don't even know what my challenge is, right? And that is why individuals in the room, organizations in the room, some of them on my side of the stage, I will not mention name, are organizations you can reach out to. And instead of asking for the normal things we ask from them, you ask for them for information around the researches that they have done in the past that will be able to help you to build whatever you want to build. I don't know if this answered the question.
Yeah, it did, because of how you even brought it down to a very close context, that in as much as you want to do things, don't forget the general population that we have cutting across different people, and let your approach be specific enough to reach, certain people. They cannot design something meant for you and now want people at the grassroots to be able to use that innovation, and it will be called "We've innovated A," and it's supposed to achieve results. So thank you so much for hitting on that. So I learned Dr. Chris is still with us. I don't know if he would like to. I would like him to add on the point that you just spoke on. Dr. Chris, can you hear us, please? While Dr. Chris will be speaking, this is the time for us to indicate if you have questions. We can just take 2, 3. I usually take very solid questions, because you've been listening so far from now. And if you don't ask the right question, you also not get the right answer. So I don't know if, okay, I see hands already. Let me just take people that will ask questions and keep, and then while we hear Dr. Chris. So the lady on blue, 1. The man on the cap, 2. We want a young adolescent, an adolescent person. You've been listening so far. I'll come back to you if I don't find an adolescent. I'll come back to you. Any adolescent? Adolescent, no question. Somebody's doing like this, you're not an adolescent. Okay, since I didn't find an adolescent, you're sure? All right, I'll give it to, yes, the third person. Then if we see half time, I can come to you. Dr. Chris. All right, so in the absence of Dr. Chris speaking, let's just take actual questions now. The lady on blue, please, you have your time. Microphone, please.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Victoria Wanne. I'm founder of the Slaughter Awareness Foundation. I'm going to say thank you very much, moderator, for that very fantastic question, because this is something that's been on my mind, and while she was speaking, I was just busy writing.
Great.
When you spoke about changing your vision to fit into the context of funding, it's something that has really been a lot of pressure on me. Now, I started a foundation on stuttering. It's something that's not so popular, not so relevant. Yeah. And then when we look at international fundings, you see women participation, governance, climate change. And then you work on your idea to a point, and you begin to ask yourself, are you sure I'm not doing the wrong thing? Because all the international funding I'm seeing is on governance, is on climate change. And at a point, I begin to ask myself, should I connect stuttering to climate change just so that I'm able to fill these application forms and get funding? And then, she answered the question and spoke about, you sticking to your vision of why you started. My vision for why I started is very clear. It's very passionate, because my younger brother stutters, and for over 20 years, he did not even get a diagnosis to say, yes, what you have is stuttering. The vision is very clear, but the funding and the opportunities are not available. And I think one of the things is that in Nigeria here, we don't really get so much opportunities for funding. We all try to look outside Nigeria for such funding.
Okay.
So for people like
Sorry. Who are you directing your question to? What I'm telling you? Yes, so can you just go to the question?
Okay. So for people like me with a clear vision and sticking to what we want to do, how do we look out for funding? Yes, for our ideas. Thank you.
Thank you so much for asking that.
Are you taking all? I respond immediately. Let me respond.
Let's take another one. But that question is for you. Thank you. All right, the second person on the blue cap. That was a very thoughtful question. I like it.
Thank you so much. I'm Jare Ismail Tiamiyu. My question is about preparedness. If tomorrow there is another pandemic, I would like Dr. Chris or Mr. Shegun to answer this question.
Okay, Dr. Chris is listening.
Okay, what we're talking there, we ask, have we been able to learn any lesson from the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic? And to me, my own personal opinion, I would like to say that maybe as a country, Nigeria, maybe in extension Africa, I'm not sure we have been able to learn more. Because we ask ourselves how many world-class hospitals have been built since that time till now. Our leaders still travel every now and then for medical attention. And as somebody who moved across, as a journalist, I moved across these 5 southwestern states during the COVID. And I can say that the experience then, and with what we have now, there has not been any significant change from the narrative that we had pre-2020. So as young people, that's why I said Dr. Chris or Mr. Shegun.
Yeah,
I want to ask them, what do they think we should be doing now to ensure we mount pressure on the stakeholders to ensure that we have what it takes to confront any pandemic? Lassa fever, we all know how we have been battling in and out of that, and some other pandemics or some endemics in some areas. What should young people be doing moving forward? Thank you.
Stakeholders, you mean government stakeholders?
Yes, and including CSOs too.
CSOs, okay, thank you so much. I'll take the last question. Sorry, you're not counted. I'm concerned, my adolescent, we should pass you. All right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelvin. My question is this. I don't know if I'm deviating from the discussion. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you if you do.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I think my question is regarding the preparedness for the pandemic, which the panelists they mentioned Lassa fever, measles, COVID-19, and I've not heard where they mention HIV, which is something that is eating deeper into the younger generation. So I don't know where and how do we take this campaign to the younger generations so that we can be able to curtail the rate at which this disease is spreading among the youth.
Thank you so much. I celebrate the angle of that question being very specific to HIV context. So we'll direct that question to you, Ashifa. Okay, you want to add? Yeah. Okay, to Ashifa. Yeah, so we'll just give time now to respond to the question. Dr. Chris, you have a question to respond to, and Mr. Sheikh is going to add. And then, Madam Toy, you have your question. Ashifa, you have your question. So let's start with, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thank you for the question that you have asked. I don't remember your name, I'm sorry. I want to start by saying that your vision is valid.
Very.
What you started out to solve for, it is very valid, and don't allow anybody, any external environmental factor, including resources, to make you feel otherwise. As a matter of fact, as you said that now, I thought to myself, I've never heard anybody talk about that issue. Never. And I've also been in this space working for young people 15 years now. I've never. The work that I do currently with my organization, we work with young people around education as well.
Yeah.
I imagine stuttering to be something also that affects education. I have not sat in any space where that has been raised. So that vision is very valid. I just needed to join you in validating it if there's something like that, yeah? And I want to say it will stand you out. Just, keep at it and stay on it, yeah? But in zooming, is it in or out now? Zooming into the question that you have asked. The reality is that when you take on a problem like that, or any problem for that matter, it's important to note that you can't solve it in isolation. There are some problems in our environment, in our society, that have direct cause, effect, problem, solution. Also borders on a larger set of the population, so has more attention, yeah? And I think that even in the way resources flow, it also flows in the direction that we find maybe this is affecting more people. I'll use the COVID we're talking about as an example. The amount of resources that materialized during the pandemic, immediately afterwards, you would wonder where was that before then to maybe even solve for preparedness. So what am I saying? And the public health people in the room know this, that when you have this epidemiological data that is saying this is affecting 100 and something % of the population, that's not correct, but you know what I mean, like affecting majority of the population, there's a tendency that traction will move to that direction. But that notwithstanding, the other issues that borders on, on people, on communities, on different groups, they are still important. The task for you here and for all of us who take on some of those unpopular issues is, how do I connect with what is the big picture? Because there's no problem that lives in isolation.
True.
There's none of those issues we're solving for. I'm currently, in our organization, we are currently talking about public health, a neglected tropical disease that affects women. It's called female genital schistosomiasis. I'm sure that maybe that will sound like, what is this girl talking about to many people? But that is something that affects women in this country.
Yeah.
That is serious.
I learned.
That is very cheap to solve, but it's not a priority. It's not on the table of the ones who are making decisions. But what do we need to do? We need to then find, how does that problem sit in bigger problems? How does that problem sit in the ones that have the attention? I just gave an example, in my opinion, and you will know better than me, that maybe it is education. Maybe it is, youth empowerment. Maybe it is development or something like that. That is the bigger picture in which that other small problem sits. The question is, how do you connect to that? Because you can be solving for that big thing and the small thing at the same time, and you're achieving your goal. So you need to find what is that big thing that it also sits in. Connect these small issues to the other bigger issues, because there's intersections of that issue. And find people. You can't also sit in your corner. I'm not saying that's what you do, but you can't sit in your corner and say, I'm solving for stuttering, and there's not a lot of people who know that's what you're doing. Find out the people who are also doing things in the big picture scenario and make your case for how this issue can connect to this issue, can become something that we can solve together. I know that Adek is signaling me to finish, but I just took a couple of notes down to...
So I wanted to say that, one of the objectives of the conference is also to give young people room for connection and networking. So this is a very valid question you've asked, and you've already known who is responding to your question. So you could take advantage, and you know what to do.
That's not what I meant. You need to find people, really, for real, in the ecosystem of the issue that you're trying to solve, and make connections. Yes, definitely, we can connect and talk about the issue, but there's a lot of people who you could be connecting to, who could actually be solving together with you. And you need to understand also that time is very critical, right?
Sure.
No matter the stage of organization or group, there's always challenges. The organization I work for is 25 years. We have our own challenges. Youth Hub, you have your own challenges. ADEC, you have your own challenges. We're on different journeys, and each phase of our journeys come with their own challenges.
True.
And I'm sure that I'm not a founder. I salute founders. ADEC is a founder. I'm sure if you speak to founders, you would know that you're not alone, that what you're experiencing, you're not the first to have experienced it. I'm sure if you spoke to our founder, who was 20 years old when she started our organization, I can't imagine the kind of things that she might have had to deal with, to even break through. Given, yes, that maybe she was solving in a very popular issue, but that notwithstanding, there will be those kind of challenges. So give yourself space, grace to learn, to grow, and understand that your challenges are not peculiar to you. It is part of what it means to grow an idea, to grow a vision.
I feel like she got more than what she asked.
So don't stay in a silo, yeah? Find people, find your ecosystem of solving the problem, and connect your issue to those bigger issues. And whether you're solving directly, I think this is important.
All right.
Whether you're solving directly or indirectly. And I'm talking about you saying, should I now pivot to climate change? No, that's not what is being said. You need to just reflect. This thing, will it solve the problem directly or indirectly? And that maybe helps you make the decision about how you want to tweak or shift or move to attach.
I have to use my superpower here because it's getting so much
I'm
that
done.
you even asked. Thank you so much. So I will just call Mr. Shegun. You respond to your own question that was asked to you, and then Dr. Chris also add on it because so he hears a question from you directly as well. Dr. Chris, kindly confirm you can hear us. He can. Okay, great.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Okay, do you want to go ahead first? Do you have the question? No, Mr. Shegun, go ahead so he can also add.
All right, I think the question is saying
the mic.
What we should be doing to pressure the stakeholders to be able to do what they should do
Preparing them
in preparing ahead of the next outbreak or the next epidemic. Then somebody said he didn't hear us mention HIV and AIDS. There are a whole lot of them, and the whole of the panel session time will not be enough, and that was why we mentioned just those few. Please pardon us. The plenty there, we can have that discussion after now. And so, my thought about what we'll need to do to get
how do we engage government?
Those guys to build hospitals, world-class hospital, and all those. My view of that differs a little bit from what people might want to think. I believe we should start from where we are to do. So the one walking around stuttering, right, has started something, and by the time she's engaging on that scale, and one day she gets to the DARE conference stage, which of course I'm sure she will get there maybe in a year time or thereabout, and then there is the ED, the minister, and the essay to the president. It will be easier to have that report in the green room at the back. But if she does not start anything from there, she will never, there will be the security around these people. Now let me not get security here. So it will be difficult to even have the conversation with them. So as young people, just pick whatever you want to run with and start. I think that is about it for the question.
Okay, so Dr. Chris, how should the young people use a very innovative approach to engage the government and stakeholders in building systems and structure? That's what you're asking, preparing them against pandemic coming ahead.
Thank you for the question, and I would like to extend on what Shekun just mentioned. We didn't, especially mentioning something like HIV. It's not that it's not mentioned, but HIV is even one of the very precious issues that we have on the continent. But let me go to the question first. What is it that we can do to pressure? I mean, I don't know if I'll use the word pressure.
We don't want to use the pressure, engage.
Yeah, I think we need to be. Oh. Sorry, I hope the airport announcement is not disturbing. Okay, what I would like to say, I don't want to use the word pressure because at some point, the issue with our leaders is how we bring the situation to them. Let's maybe just try to use something like, but for me, it's to call to them to act on the situation. And yes, I like the question because, as I said, we need to understand that you are learning from the lessons that we went through during COVID. Issue on health facilities training of our people, financing health, the digital health, but also how are we creating opportunity, even for the more young people to come and strengthen our health system. So to proactively strengthen the pandemic preparedness, build a united evidence-based coalition that can present a concise data and policy. I think what we need to do is to establish a sustainable, first of all, let me just go to accountability. We need to make sure that we are calling everyone to his responsibility to be accountable to what they've been charged for. As a community, what are we doing in terms of our responsibility? As a civil society, what is it that we're doing? And yes, we need to put that pressure. I'm still using the word pressure, but it's just to call them to the responsibility to say, like, they have the responsibility to bring solution to the issue. Let me go back to 2020.
Okay, so
2015, just to close. There was a declaration there in Abuja talking about the 15% in how we're allocating the budget to health. How many countries on the continent are doing that? You can be surprised. On the 55 member states, we have only 2 who have made it to the 15%. 7 are between 12 and 10, and the rest are very far behind. So we are here 10 years after that engagement, but only 2 countries are making that progress. And this is also what we need, also maybe young people as health advocates or any capacity to call to their accountability, because all these things that we're looking at them to do in terms of, in strengthening health, start with how are they funding the health sector? Because you cannot ask the Ministry of Health to build hospitals, whatever, to equip them if it's not funded, if the government is not allocating that budget is needed for that sector. So first of all, it's call for accountability. And I'd like to say, let's start with that one. The 50% need to be allocated to the health sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that noble contribution, because for me, I feel you've also gotten the response to your question, especially around holding relevant stakeholders accountable, good. Okay, so we'll take the last response to the last questions. Although you've touched on the HIV part, so just a little brief on it.
Okay. So what young people should be doing in terms of increasing preparedness around HIV?
Even knowing the limited funding now, drugs and all.
Yeah. So it's important that, because HIV is an issue that has been with us and is with us, so it's not something that is going to come. And remember, when we were talking about preparedness, we said that it's important to incorporate this into the everyday things that we do and the everyday conversations. So it does not matter which area your organization focuses on.
Sure.
It's important that whatever platforms we have as young people, we bring in these conversations on social media, amongst our friends, in school, everywhere we are. It's important to bring in these conversations around HIV, around how to prevent. I know that based on the T conversation, we talked about sexual reproductive health and some of the behaviors that enable, that can fuel the spread of some of these diseases. So to have these conversations, it's still not a show for face.
Absolutely.
It's still not a show for face. So it's important to have these conversations around HIV and all that.
Especially for the young people.
Especially for the young people. And just to touch briefly on funding for the lady that asked the question. It can be overwhelming and it can be discouraging, but it's also important to look at alternative sources of funding, like looking locally. Are there companies, are there businesses that we can approach to raise funds? And fundraising is not just about the dollars or the naira. It can be human resources. It can be people giving you their time. It can be people lending their voices or their platforms to talk about what is important to you. Those are huge resources that we can also leverage. And it's important to also get the people, the community that you are serving, or we are serving, to get them involved.
Yeah.
Because they also have a lot to contribute, but we will never know until we approach them and we have those kinds of conversations. I wish you all the best.
All right, thank you so
what
much.
you're
I feel
doing.
this is where we're going to wrap this panel session for today. I wish we can continue. I saw so many hands up. Thanks. Please help me celebrate our great panelists. They did justice to everything that was asked. And like we said, you can connect and keep asking your questions. Young people, keep asking questions anytime to anyone, because the more you ask, the more you get. Thank you so much. I remain your brief moderator for today, Adek Basi, and so good to connect here.
All right, thank you very much, Adek. I think you have to take photos, so just stand. Thank you. That round of applause was pretty low, so please. Even though I think I have an idea why you are not clapping very vigorously. They talked about pandemic a lot, and they didn't talk about pandemic of podcasts. And yeah, I know. If anyone's going to host a panel critiquing the pandemic of podcasts, please invite me to it. I'd love to listen to it. Everyone and their auntie now has one. Thank you very much. I think this was a very insightful panel. I like the fact that we traced a lot of things that we want to do right back to COVID. I say it all the time that we say that COVID changed the world, but I do not think that we realize just how much that pandemic changed the world. There's so much that you do in life today that's different simply because of the year 2020. All right, so thank you, everybody. We'll take, before we go on a break, on our tea break, we do have one pop-up session that we didn't take initially. We're going to take it now. It is 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes, okay? So we'll take Health is Political, Reimagining Gender-Inclusive Healthcare in Africa. And that's by Ahmed Olariwaju Atunde. Please, a round of applause for him. You can take my mic, it's fine.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Atunde Olariwaju Ahmed, and I currently work as the founder of MedBase Africa. And today I'm just going to be speaking on something I'm very much passionate about. Turn to the person beside you and answer this question of mine. What will you tell the Minister of Finance and Minister of Health if you are in a room with them and they must answer you? They must give you, they must do what you want them to do that day. What will you ask them to do? As for me, what I will ask for is a seat at the table where budgets are being made for finance. Reason being that when I moved to the conflict-affected region of Nigeria, the Northeast, in 2022, I experienced women going to hospitals where there are no drugs. I experienced women going for vaccination and there is no personnel on ground to administer them. The Yoruba people will say that Ntioba power is the person that will lie, that will tell you that his witness is elsewhere. Mr. Jibod is here, one of the persons I work with in the Northeast. So this is just an issue of health. It is an issue of politics because it is about platforms. It's about politics. It's about decisions. It's about policies. It's about the politicians. It's about the senator that is representing you at the top of the affairs where the decisions about these finances are being made. So, and as such, the issue of healthcare, the issue of what drug you need to use, the issue of how expensive the drug is, the issue of all of other things that are related to health, the health outcome, the health product, and the availability, all relates to politics. And as such, in a way, we need to be more conscious about the politics. We need to be more conscious about civic actions relating to the healthcare. We need to be more conscious about the policies that are being made, how they are being written, how they are being implemented, and where they have been implemented. And that is why I will just say, for us at MedBase, and for me and my partners, making shifts or honing the shift means for us is that there is the need for youth-driven decisions, youth-driven evidences, data-driven evidences relating to health. when the pandemic erupted in 2020, there were a lot of informations everywhere, misinformations, the ones that are correct, the ones that are not correct. But something that we all could agree with is that we do not have enough data to prepare or to manage what we even have. Even though we're saying we have low resources, we don't have enough to curtail the spread, we do not have data of where to go or where not to go, where to approach the issue or where not to approach the issue. And as such, all of us, we have come together a lot of these times to say, oh, there is a need for civic action. There is a need for us to go to the ballot box. There is a need for you to vote. Who you are voting for, do you ask yourself what their philosophy of healthcare is? Because their philosophy regarding healthcare, their approach towards healthcare, their approach towards the availability of insurance or not, determines whether you are going to have access to it. And there is the problem. Inclusion. Young persons, women, girls are not on the table where these decisions have been made. It is not surprising. It is about everything. When you talk about education, there is the issue of gender parity. When you talk about financing inclusion, there is the issue of gender parity. I was there yesterday, and one of the panelists was talking about how they had to go look for young persons to represent the youth population at the table when decisions regarding constitutional review are being made. And I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. Why was I not surprised? A lot of time I've been in rooms where young persons are expected, but none of us are there, or somebody just bringing one issue that is really not needed. That is the issue. Owning the shift. For us, it means that all of us in this room are working in civic actions. We are driving something, or we are trying to drive something, or we are hoping to drive something. Let me introduce you to this. Sector-specific civic action. What do I mean by sector-specific civic action? Honestly, it is that we need to go beyond, let's go and vote. Your vote is your power. After voting, somebody is going to be in the room to represent me, and I don't know what they are saying about me. What are they saying about my healthcare? What are they saying about PCOS? What are they saying about gender violence? What are they saying about a whole lot of these healthcare issues that have been talked about? We have, what do you call it? A law against the discrimination against persons with HIV/AIDS, and we still do not have people who can come out and say, I need help because I have HIV and AIDS. We still do not have a population where people who live with HIV and AIDS can apply for a job and say, oh, I'm living with this issue. That is what we have. So, here is the solution. For me, I just feel it's more like a solution. Or let's say it's how we can hone the shift, because that is how we're honing it at Medbase. We're driving research, collecting data, spotlight the problem in your area when it comes to healthcare. Is it that people do not have access to the system? I spotlighted something, and it's something very crazy. My phone rang 3 days after I wrote a letter to the governor of my state. 3 times I do not know the number, and because that time I do not pick the numbers I don't know, I spoke to the governor of my state for 40 minutes, talking about a healthcare system problem. People do not have access to a maternity in Kusomunu, a community in Sawaji. Months later, the governor announced that they are putting funds into refurbishing primary healthcare centers in Kwara State. That is the success story of spotlighting a problem. Put data together, push it out, show it to the person that needs to see it. When you get into the room with the stakeholders we're talking about, have enough evidence to tell them, this is the local problem. This is what I know about it. And this is the solution that we have democratized. after reading through literatures or whatever way we are designing our evidences or designing our solutions. That way we are able to go beyond just ballots to being persons designing our healthcare system. We shouldn't just be the recipients of healthcare systems. We should join government and other stakeholders in designing them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Beyond sticking to time, I like very much how pointed his presentation was, because we talk often about young people, our energies. Well, maybe not me. Maybe I shouldn't use the word young people's energies, young people's passion, young people's, all of those things. And it's important that, leaders stop seeing young people as energy, as a loud, angry, huge population to be harnessed. And perhaps that's where the problem is. The young people are seen as a tool, as an opportunity, and begin to transition into seeing young people as partners in development. And the rub is where the issue is, being able to say, okay, is it an apple, or is it a chicken or an egg situation? Is it because young people haven't shown X, Y, Z, or is it because there's an unwillingness? Or is it, there's so many questions to be asked. But the point remains that we do need to, like he said, own the shift and transform from being an energy to be harnessed into a partner in development, a partner in leadership. And so thank you very much, Olanrewaju. We'll be taking a break for tea. There are two important announcements to make. First, if you made a pitch for the hackathon, the gentlemen from the NYFF need you at the back of the hall. But also, the students who will be participating in the students will be participating in the silent podcast. So you're also needed at the back of the hall. I remember I said at the beginning that you get one concession for a vote to pretend it's a democracy, and that concession has passed. So I'll be taking the liberty that my autocratic regime gives me now. It's not really an autocratic regime if you have to tell me to go into the light, but I'll pretend. So I'll be taking the liberty that being the dictator gives me to tell us that we do not have 30 minutes as is being shown to me for this tea break. We'll cut that down by 10 minutes, and so we'll have 20 minutes. You can boo me only silently. Remember, in dictatorial regimes, you cannot critique the authorities. So you can squeeze your face, but only internally, so I don't put you in the gulag. So in 20 minutes, we'll reconvene and meet here by 12:40. Thank you very much. Please remember, hackathon, left side of the hall at the back, silent podcast, right side of the hall at the back. See you in 19 minutes now. Thank you.
When I reach Poland, they're calling me Odogu. And as I enter the town, I put them for Odogu. And nobody can stop you. And so we they fly past you. Over any obstacle, leave me Odogu. Say now they draw the map, you Odogu. You are looking at the champion, Odogu. Why the girls they shaking yash, you Odogu. With the person with the cash, you Odogu. Ache, kekele bodo. Ache, kekele bodo. Ache, kekele bodo. Champion. Make up your mind, just to go. Bounce to the sound while I bounce with the do. Serve yourself, not the matter with the do. I'ma eat it slow. Move, make a move. I go slide, then you go sink like a boat. Me, I just did laugh like say life is a joke. And like you both girls with they clean, with they go. If your boyfriend don't get money, then they can't go. Come back. When I reach Poland, they're calling me Odogu. And as I enter the town, I put them for Odogu. And nobody can stop you. And so we they fly past you. Over any obstacle, leave me Odogu. Oh my God, what a symphony. Certainly what has got nothing into me. As I roll, I pull up in a Bentley. And with the diamond shine on every ring you see. Lights on, I become a dog. They got them, they want to touch it from my banana. And if you know get work, you be Jankara. I beg you, so make you go sit down for one corner. Gone deep, but damn it. I gon' need my apology. You know I wanna see. But if I guess with the totally, look at the lobby. When I reach Ebola, then calling me Odogu. And as I enter the town, I put down for Odogu. And nobody can stop you. And so we dey fly past you. Over any obstacle, it be Odogu. Say now who they draw the map, you Odogu. You are looking at the champion, Odogu. Why the girls they shaking your shit, Odogu. With the person with the cash, Odogu. Aje, kekele, Odogu. Aje, kekele, Odogu. Aje, kekele, Odogu. Champion.
Baby girl, you are too good looking. Come on, make them stop the fooling. If not, you go wind your body. Like a this, like a that, like a this, like a that. Show me your assets. You better shoot like rockets. This my rockets. They can never stop my sunset. Oh yeah, give me like a this, like a that, like a this, like a that. Mogadishu boys are back.
Shake it, go. Problem jam me so go. Make that allow me CPO go. Make I go jogodo. I don't